and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Keisha the Sugar Muse. Thanks for coming back. This week I'm going to be creating chocolate chip cookies. You could also turn these into my favorite white chocolate macadamia cookies. Now I've tried what seems like a million chocolate chip cookie recipes, and the thing that I discovered most helpful is not exactly the ingredients, but the technique used to make the cookies. So I took several recipes and I kind of combined them, and then I used a technique that involves letting the cookie dough rest refrigerated overnight and then baking them the next day. So if you're looking for a cookie recipe to bake immediately, this one may not be for you. You could always bake this recipe immediately, but I found a marked difference in the finished product between when I baked it immediately after mixing the dough and when I let it have a 24 to 48 hour rest, then baked it from a refrigerated state. So I will actually link that recipe below, and I will write the recipe in the description box below, and then I'm going to show you how to bake the cookies. So stay tuned. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my flour, my salt, and my leaveners together. And what I'm gonna do is pour that in and give it a stir with my spatula. Make sure it's nicely combined. You could sift this. It's up to you. Stirring to me is adequate enough. So go ahead and stir your leaveners and your ingredients. Stir it well. Make sure you get everything mixed in. You could also use a whisk to do this, but my spatula works fine. So we're going to set this aside, and now we're going to cream the butter and the sugar. So now that we've mixed our dry ingredients, we are going to add both of our sugars to the bowl. Now I have here some white sugar I'm going to add to the bowl, and I have some brown sugar I'm going to add to the bowl. Get it all in there. And I'm going to mix that around for a few seconds just to make sure it's combined. Now I'm going to add my butter, which is room temperature, slightly cool, unsalted butter. Get it all out of there. Didn't want to come out. I'm going to add that to the bowl, and we're going to cream this for 5 minutes until it's light and fluffy, and you will see it change as the video goes. And I'm going to fast forward through that part, but I'm going to still let you see how the mixture changes. Okay, so I'm going to scrape down the bowl really quickly. And you can already see how the mixture looks different from what it did earlier. It's not the grainy, sandy, clumpy mixture it was earlier. It's much smoother now. And I'm going to let it keep going. Okay, so it's been mixing for 5 minutes, and you can see how much the texture of the sugar and the butter has changed. This is what we call creaming sugar and butter together. And what it basically does is it aerates your butter, and when you're making a cake this way, it's supposed to aerate so that you get a high and fluffy cake. Now cookies, it does contribute to the texture. It also adds aeration so that your cookie's not quite so flat and greasy. So now that we've done that and I scraped down the bowl, I am now going to add my egg, and I'm going to beat that for about a minute. maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just until the egg is well incorporated into the butter sugar. Now we beat that for 30 seconds. I'm gonna give a quick scrape again. Uh-oh. And now I'm going to add my vanilla. Crucial to cookie recipes, especially chocolate chip. And I'm gonna mix that for 30 seconds. Okay, so our vanilla is well incorporated. 30 seconds of mixing after the egg. That was also 30 seconds of mixing. So now I'm gonna knock some of that off of the attachment paddle so it won't be in the way. Over there. So now I'm going to try to get all of my dry mix in there. I was having a little difficulty at first, but I got it in there. So I'm gonna add that. And now we're going to stir it on low, because if you start this off on high, you're going to get a flour cloud in your face. So start off on as low as your settings will go. Now we're going to mix this until you can't see any more flour. Just until you can't see any more flour, you only mix it for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, so as you can see, our dough is mixed. There's no more flour left, no flour streaks, no flour clumps. So now I'm going to scrape down the paddle, and from now on we're going to be using our spatula, as you see there, because you can, I suppose, stir it in using maybe the dough hook of your attachment, but that to me is just an extra utensil to clean. So I'm just going to use my paddle attachment at this point to do this. So I'm going to scrape down this paddle, and then I'm going to come back. Okay, so now it's time for the final mixing step, and that is to add the chocolate chips to the actual cookie dough. And in this bowl, you mostly only see where I have regular size chocolate chips, but in the bottom of the bowl, as you can see, I have larger chips, which are called discs or buttons, and there's some other name for them, but I can't pronounce it. So you can also use those. I just use the mixture because I was using up the discs until I go to the store to get some more, and the rest I just use chocolate chips. So I'm going to mix this by hand with the spatula until all of my chocolate chips are incorporated. You could always add more chocolate chips than I did here. This is just an amount that I tend to add. I like this ratio to dough. But you could always overload yours if you please. If you so choose, add more or less. But usually people tend to add more. So as you can see there, I have my chocolate chips mixed in. Now if I am ever mixing and sometimes I see spaces where there aren't enough chips for my desire that day, I just go ahead and sprinkle in a few more. But this looks like a good amount of chocolate chips. So now I'm going to show you how to weigh and portion out your cookies for refrigeration. So So now I'm going to show you how to weigh out the cookie dough. Now you could easily stick the whole bowl of cookie dough into the refrigerator, cover it well with plastic wrap so it doesn't dry out, stick it in the fridge and portion it out later. But since I bake the cookies from a refrigerated state or frozen, it's easier for me to portion out the dough while it's soft and malleable now and, you know, room temperature than to wait till it's refrigerated, because the dough is much harder when it's refrigerated and you'll destroy your cookie scoop, which I have here. Cookie scoop right there. This is about a 1 tablespoon cookie scoop, and if you're using the scale, you're going to weigh each cookie to 3.5 ounces. If you're using just the cookie scoop and you don't have a scale, that's going to be approximately 3 of these and maybe a half one, so maybe 3 rounded of these or 3 of these and a half, because each one would be about a tablespoon or an ounce of dough. So I'm going to show you how to measure out a few cookies just to give you an idea of how I do it. What I do is I take my dough, turn on your scale. Right there it says 0 ounces because I already had my bowl on there. If you put your bowl on afterwards, you have to tear out your scale to get it to 0. So that's 1.5 ounces. That's 2.9 ounces. And that makes 3.5 on the nose. I am special. Okay, so I'm going to take this dough with clean hands, which you need to wash or wear gloves. You notice I don't have any jewelry or anything on right now. My hands are clean. You're going to be handling the cookie dough. You're going to just kind of shape your cookie dough into a little ball. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to place it onto a plate. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing that until I have weighed out all of my cookie dough and I have all of my balls formed, cookie dough balls, and then I'm going to show you what to do after that. Okay, so as you can see, I have portioned out the cookie dough, and the cookie dough balls are roughly golf ball sized. So now I'm going to cover my plate and my cookies with plastic wrap. Cover them well. You don't want them picking up any funky flavors in the fridge. And you don't want the dough to go all dry and strange on you, which it can do if left out in the open. I'm not really good with plastic wrap, so I'll probably use more than some more talented wrappers would. But I get the job done. We wrapped our cookie dough. And now all that's left is to put your cookie dough in the refrigerator. We're going to leave it overnight, 24 hours, whichever is the longest. You can leave this up to 36 hours, but after 36 hours, I would definitely freeze the dough. Just freeze it as is, put it in a Ziploc bag once it's fully frozen, and stick it stored in your freezer. So I'm going to put these in the refrigerator, and when I come back, I'm going to show you how to bake the cookies. Okay, so now it's time to bake the cookies, and here you can see I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper or baking paper, and here is my cold cookie dough. So I'm simply going to take a ball of cookie dough off of the plate. It may be a little difficult because the cookie dough is kind of firm. So you may have to take a spatula and ease it up. I'm just going to take it, transfer it to my parchment about that far from the edges, because this cookie is going to be roughly 6 inches in diameter once it finishes baking. So here we are. I have them pretty evenly spaced so that they won't spread right into one another. And now I'm going to bake these in an oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is Celsius, you might have to Google that. But 350 degrees Fahrenheit for between 18 and 22 minutes. I usually go for right around 20. Okay, so I just took the cookies out of the oven. They've been in there for approximately 20 minutes. And as you can see, they've spread out and they're nice and golden brown. And I'm going to let them cool on the cookie sheet for 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, I'm going to shift them over to a cooling rack and let them cool for another 10 minutes. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, and now I'm going to take the cookies off of the baking sheet and move them onto this cooling rack. And basically what I do is, you can take them off one by one and place them onto the cooling rack, but I'm a bum. So So I'm just gonna take the cookie sheet and slide it off onto cool rack. Give them 5 to 10 more minutes, and the easiest part is next. Okay guys, thanks for watching. That's it for the cookie video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe for more videos. Visit me on Facebook and Instagram. Come back and see me again next week when we'll be creating something new. I'm Keisha the Sugar Muse. Thanks for watching.